Memorial Day travel. This is where it all started. Did you know that over 1.1 million American soldiers have made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation since the American Revolution? Their valor and courage echo through the ages, etched into the hallowed grounds of memorial sites scattered across the country and beyond. Memorial Day is a time to honor the brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice and service to our nation. And what better way to pay your respects than by visiting the very sites where they fought and fell. In this video, we'll be your guide through America's hallowed grounds, from Normandy's beaches to Gettysburg, tracing the valor of heroes from the Revolutionary War to World War II. So pack your bags and join us as we visit compelling travel spots where you can walk in the footsteps of legends, experience history firsthand, and pay profound tribute to those who gave everything to protect our freedoms. World War II memorial sites. Our journey begins at the site of an event so seismic it shook the world to its core. Pearl Harbor. On a sleepy Sunday morning of December 7th, 1941, the skies over Oahu rained terror as Japanese bombers unleashed a surprise attack that would forever alter the course of history. Can you imagine the sheer chaos and horror as explosions rocked the harbor and thick plumes of smoke billowing through the air? It was a day that certainly didn't start with rainbows and ukulele music, that's for sure. Yet, in the face of such devastation, American resilience and valor shone through, lighting a fire that propelled the nation into World War II. And today, you can experience this pivotal moment firsthand at the Pearl Harbor Memorial and Museums. As you approach the iconic white structure spanning the USS Arizona's final resting place, you can't help but feel a lump in your throat. But have no fear, they've got snack bars, because reflecting on history definitely works up an appetite. The museums are like a time machine, transporting you right into the midst of the Day of Infamy, with compelling exhibits, rare artifacts, and incredibly realistic reenactments. Just don't be surprised if you catch yourself ducking for cover when those bombs start dropping. From the tranquil waters of the Pacific, we now travel halfway around the world to the battle-scarred shores of Normandy, France. This unassuming stretch of coastline may look like a picturesque summer getaway today, but on June 6, 1944, it was the scene of one of the most daring and consequential military operations in human history, D-Day. Can you even fathom the sheer courage it took for those brave souls to charge across the endless stretches of sand into the face of near certain death? Nowhere to hide, nowhere to run, just raw valor pushing them towards a pivotal turning point in World War II's European theater. It's enough to make you grateful for the most mundane beach trips of your childhood, where the only danger was a rogue sand crab pinching your toe. But those dark days of carnage have given way to profound remembrance and respect. Today, visitors can experience the D-Day story through fascinating tours along the very beaches of the Allied invasion. Omaha, Utah, Juneau, Sword and Gold. You'll wind your way through the very bunkers, tank traps, and gun emplacements that slowed the advance, pausing at cemeteries where the rows of brilliant white crosses stretch as far as the eye can see. And your social media followers are going to love these extremely pensive, contemplative selfies you took at Pointe du Hoc. Just be prepared for your guide to spontaneously break into a Les Miserables sing-along as you tour the French mainland. They do love a dramatic flair for the patriotic over there. From the bloody beaches of Normandy, our time-traveling journey now takes us to the tiny island of Okinawa, a mere speck in the vast Pacific that proved to be one of the most hard-fought and pivotal battlegrounds of the entire war. You've got to hand it to the military masterminds, deciding that the best way to tackle the Japanese mainland was by first waging an all-out slugfest over this unassuming little island refuge. Because, you know, why go for the obvious strategic targets when you can embroil your forces in a grueling 82-day meat grinder first? All sarcasm aside, the Battle of Okinawa was one of the bloodiest campaigns of the Pacific Theater, with over 200,000 casualties on both sides by the time the smoke cleared. It was a brutal clash of unspeakable carnage and unwavering tenacity that foreshadowed the potential devastation of an invasion of mainland Japan. Today, however, this tiny island paradise has rebounded in spectacular fashion as a jewel of tropical serenity and profound remembrance. History buffs can explore ancient castles, intricate cave systems that once sheltered civilians, and some of the most comprehensive World War II museums and memorials in the region. And when you need a break from all that reflecting on the fortitudes of war, you can lounge on the very same sugary beaches that once ran red with blood and shrunk to your heart's content. The Okinawan people are incredibly welcoming. Just don't ask them how they feel about the U.S. military base presence. A bit of a touchy subject, that one. American Civil War sites. Now, let's talk about the Civil War waged across this nation, pitting brother against brother in a bitter fight to determine the very soul of America. And at the epicenter of it all stood the small town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. A name that still sends shivers down the spines of history buffs everywhere. For 3 sweltering days in July 1863, these very fields and forests echoed with the thunderous roar of cannons and the desperate clash of bayonets. Can you imagine the sheer chaos as over 150,000 soldiers collided in brutal combat? Thankfully for us today, the only threats at Gettysburg are heat stroke and potential buffalo chip landmines from the park's fuzzy residents. But certainly don't let that diminish the profound importance of this hallowed ground. As you explore the sprawling Gettysburg National Military Park, you'll be walking in the footsteps of legends like Robert E. Lee and George Gordon Meade. The museums and interactive exhibits are like stepping into a time machine, transporting you right to the front lines. You can examine the cannons that rained unholy fire, peek into the archaeological wonders underneath historic buildings, or brush up on your 19th century medical practices, or rather, torturous slash and saw routines that passed for healing back then. Who needs a haunted house when you have Gettysburg's hospitals? And for all you Civil War completionists out there, we'd be remiss not to mention the haunting grounds of Antietam and Fort Sumter. These were the battles that lit the fuse and showed the world that the bonds of unity wouldn't be broken without one hell of a fight. American Revolution sites. Alright, Patriots, time to wind the clocks all the way back to where this whole American experiment began. The city of Boston, Massachusetts. This was the cradle of revolution, where brave colonists first sparked the fires of freedom that would eventually fuel the birth of our nation. Can you imagine the sheer audacity of those early revolutionaries, hurling crates of tea into the harbor in protest, squaring off against the mighty redcoats on the streets? It's like they looked at the world's greatest military superpower and said, "Hold my Sam Adams beer." More about this later. Those were the kind of bold moves that turned the tide and proved the colonists weren't just having a cute little tantrum. They were dead serious about this independence thing. And you can literally walk from the origins of America's battle for liberty on Boston's iconic Freedom Trail. This unique 2.5-mile trail connects 16 historical sites that will have you reliving the whole explosive start of the Revolution. From Paul Revere's humble homestead to the steeple of the Old North Church where those warning lanterns blazed, igniting the famous midnight ride. Now about that Sam Adams beer. Wet your whistle at the Green Dragon. This unassuming tavern is where the likes of John Hancock, Paul Revere, and the Sons of Liberty secretly planned the revolution over frothy pints of ale. And by the time you summit the Bunker Hill Monument, you'll have climbed enough steps to regret that third helping of Boston cream pie. But it was totally worth it to imagine the struggles real patriots went through. Like not having Uber to get around this town. These hallowed memorial sites from World War II, the Civil War, and the American Revolution are more than just landmarks. They are sacred grounds that bear witness to the incredible sacrifices made to secure our freedom. Walking the very battlegrounds, cemeteries, and museums is a profoundly educational and emotional experience that connects us intimately with our nation's history. And if you're looking to book affordable flights to embark on your own historical pilgrimage, be sure to check out our recent travel hacks video for insider tips on snagging dream deals. Drop a comment and let us know which of these sites most resonates with you. This Memorial Day, we encourage you to plan your own pilgrimage and pay tribute to the legacy of bravery and valor represented at these sites. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more travel content to fuel your inner explorer. As always, from your friends at The Vacation Agent, safe travels!